Hi, my name is Cynthia, and I'm here to guide a little bit of yoga so that you can feel comfortable in a seated position for some meditation whenever you need it. So to start, we're just going to do the whole practice on our back. Especially if you're doing a morning meditation, it's really nice to be able to start laying down and still get that movement and stretch in your body. So you can start on your back and just squeeze your knees into the chest. We're going to be focusing on waking up the spine, the hips, and just the joints of the body so that you can sit comfortably without strain. Bring your arms out wide, and then on your exhale, drop your knees to the left. You can gaze to the right. And here you want that right shoulder relaxed to the ground. Smooth breaths. Maybe inch that right knee on top of the left knee a little more so they're stacked. And if it's too hard, you can always soften back. You know your body better than I do. So just take those deep breaths. That opening the low back, waking up that spine. Breathing all the way in and out. Inhale the knees through center. And then on the exhale, you're going to drop your knees over to the right. And then swivel your gaze to the left. This is going to help twist your spine all the way through from the nape of your neck all the way to the tailbone. Keep that left shoulder heavy towards the ground. And again, maybe stacking that left knee a little more on top of the right knee once you're comfortable. For that extra stretch, squaring the hips. And then gently return back to center. Grab the outer edges of your feet, ankles or knees for happy baby. You want to be sumo squatting up towards the ceiling. You can give yourself a little rock side to side. Press your tailbone down so that you got a little more of a contrast in that inner leg, in the hips. And then release legs to the sky, hands plant down by your hips. Roll the ankles. You can point, flex, curl, and open the toes, rolling in all directions. And then feel your low back pressing into the ground. There should be no space under that low back. Flex the feet, energize the quads, and then you're going to start bicycling the legs. Good. And the lower you allow your heels to drop, the more you're engaging that low abdominal, strengthening the core. But also we're moving through all those joints, the knee, the hip. Feel free to add the ankle by pushing at the top of that bicycle. And then reverse your bicycle. Good. Rolling everything in the opposite direction. Warming up the hips for 3, 2, and 1. Squeeze your knees back into the chest. And then we're going to straighten the left leg onto the floor. Right knee stays in. Right arm goes out. And then you can twist one more time. Right knee to the left, gaze to the right. So now that the left leg is straight, you can let that right knee reach a little further, getting a deeper twist now that the body's ready. Make sure that right shoulder is pressing into the ground. And you want to make sure the breath is still full. If you catch yourself like with short little breaths, that means you've gone too far. You can always back up the twist. Make sure you can still breathe all the way in, all the way out. then gently release. We're gonna switch sides, pull that left knee in, right leg long. And you can bring your left arm out wide and then exhale to twist, left knee towards the right. And then gaze over to the left. Good. So I've been doing this for a long time, so my left knee is all the way on the floor. If yours is not on the floor, everybody is different. As long as you're feeling that twist in the body. This practice is never about how you look, it's about how you feel. It's about the alignment of the joints. It's about just your inner experience. We're using this body as a vehicle to feel a little more connected, a little more close to that source of who we are at our heart, outside the roles we play. Gently release, come back to center, and then take that happy baby again. Again, outer feet, ankles, knees, wherever you can reach. Press the tailbone down, give yourself a little wiggle side to side. And then gently release your heels to the ground. Press your heels down. Make sure they're pretty close towards you. Maybe your fingertips can even barely graze the heels. And then from here, push your hands in the ground, push your shoulders in the ground, and you're gonna lift your hips up. So this is bridge pose. Keep those inner thighs active. They're gonna wanna splay out, so squeeze your inner thighs towards each other, push into the ground, and we're opening up that whole front chain of the body. Squeeze the glutes. Good. And if you wanna get a deeper stretch, and this is accessible to you, you can also clasp your hands underneath you and shimmy to the left, slide your right shoulder under, shimmy to the right, slide your left shoulder under, so that your ribs are on top of those two arms to help create more of a stretch across the chest. Take another deep breath. And slowly release. Good. From here, we're gonna open the hips, bring your right ankle on top of the left thigh. Your right hand is going to go through the triangle of the legs. You can look down as you pull the left knee in, right arm through, and then you can clasp both of those hands behind the left thigh, and then gently pull in. So that left foot can do whatever it wants. It can relax, it can flex, but you want the right foot flexed, the foot that's closest to you, because that right knee is at a very odd angle and we want to protect it. So we're flexing that right foot back so that there's a little bit more give at the top of the knee. Gently pull and press your tailbone down. Good. And you can add a little rock side to side. So the reason we press that tailbone down is to create that contrast. Our muscles only stretch if we have two forces going in opposite directions. So right now, we're pulling that left thigh in, which is pulling the hip up this way. If we let the tailbone lift, there's going to be no major stretch. If we press the tailbone down and anchor it, then we've got that kind of rubber band pull sensation from both sides, not just dragging over to the front of the mat, but anchoring and opening. Take a few more deep breaths. And then gently release so we can switch sides. So now we're going to place left ankle on top of the right thigh. Left hand goes through the triangle of the legs here. And then you're going to clasp your hands behind the right thigh. And again, the left foot is flexed. Right foot could do whatever it wants. And then pull the legs in. Press the tailbone down. And then optional rocking side to side. I like the rocking because it just kind of helps ease through different angles of the hip. Some people prefer to hold if there's a good spot that you want to just open up. Again, you know your body better than I do, so really start to navigate what it is you can do to get the most out of your practice, to feel what it is you want to feel. Take those smooth, full breaths no matter what you're doing. This is the anchor to our practice. The anchor to our life force, being all the way in and out. And gently release. Pull both knees back into the chest. Give yourself another little rock side to side. And then roll forward and back. Coming all the way up to sit. From here, you're going to straighten your legs in front of you. Inhale, reach your arms up. And then on your exhale, hinge forward with a flat back. And once you can't keep your back any straighter, that's when you could fold and soften the spine. Good. And you might notice my knees are a little bent, and that's okay. If you feel any strain in the low back, that's when you want to bend the knees a little bit. You're still stretching the hamstrings, but you're not putting your low back at risk. Good. Usually it takes a while for me to work my way up to straightening the legs all the way. Take those smooth inhales, smooth exhales. And then notice if you can squeeze your glutes a little and how that activity creates a different kind of stretch in the hamstrings. Maybe you need to back up a little bit when you squeeze the glutes. So modify in the way that makes sense so that you're feeling discomfort but not pain. Discomfort is where growth and change happens. Take a few more breaths. Make sure those feet are flexed all the way back. And then gently release. Good. And we've worked a lot of our body, and we should be ready to sit for a few minutes of meditation. So, to sit for meditation, put one ankle in front of the other. We're all gonna have a dominant ankle, so you can kind of figure out, I like the right ankle in front, maybe you don't. And that way, there's no pressure on the ankles. When you sit crisscross like this, there tends to be some blockage, and maybe your foot falls asleep, your leg falls asleep. So we're creating no crossing here. And then if this feels a little wonky in the back and you can't really straighten and you're kind of sitting like this right now, you can also use pillows, blankets, something to lift your hips up so that there's less strain on the low back. So you can always sit on something and then make sure your knees are on the floor. So now you're ready to meditate. And I'm going to just take a moment to guide you through a quick mindfulness meditation. Since we're already comfortable, we're already in our position. So feel the spine stack. And then the shoulders relax. Soften the muscle around the eyes, the cheeks, the jaws, even the muscle at the crown of the head. Feel it melt down. And then begin to notice the breath. Anchor to your practice, that anchor to your life force. And observe your breath with kindness and without judgment. Notice how it naturally flows in and out the nostrils. How it fills the lungs, chest gently rising and falling, belly inflating and deflating. And as you notice the breath, observe how the mind reacts when it's only focused on that one thing. How the mind softens, how the swirling begins to settle. Our minds are designed to be so projective, and thank goodness. But right now is a time to invite the mind to rest, for you to direct your attention with intention to the breath, allowing yourself to focus on a part of the breath that most intrigues you. Maybe it's even the sound of the breath coming in and out. Maybe it's the sensation at the entryway of the nostrils, that cool air coming in, that warm air exiting out. Maybe you can even sense those little nose hairs swaying in and out, kind of like seaweed underwater, the waves pulling back and forth. Maybe what intrigues you most is the sensation at the back of the throat. Noticing a texture to the breath for the first time, maybe, that there is some smooth roughness. Like the finest sandpaper in the land. Not irritating, but present. And remember, if the mind begins to wander and swirl again, see if you can just kindly invite the mind to sit, to enjoy this show of the breath. And then guide your attention back. And maybe it's the lungs that you're most intrigued by, imagining as they fill all the way up and fall. Maybe it's the diaphragm, that muscle under the lungs that pumps. On the inhales, the diaphragm relaxing down. On the exhale, the diaphragm puffing up and pushing up into the ribs. And as we notice all these facets of the breath, you can't help but experience some awe, some wonder, how incredible this body is, how incredible this life is, this precious life that we're given. Gently guide your attention back to the breath. Marveling at the stillness of the mind, of the space around you, of the heart, finding peace and joy in this simple moment. Take a deep inhale through the nose. Fill your lungs all the way up. Allow a noise to escape as you exhale out the mouth. One more big inhale through the nose. Exhale out the mouth. Soft smile on the face. You can gently open the eyes. Coming back into the room. Thank you so much for joining me today for some movement, some meditation, and some joy.